It was this, here I am, I'm a VP of HR, and I'm supposed to be happy now, right? I did all the things, I followed the order of operations, I'm making the money, I have the team, they like me, I like them, I work from home, all is well. Why do I feel like my soul is dying?
Welcome to the Better Human Podcast. My name is Greg Witz, and each week we're going to be bringing you some incredible and inspiring guests and topics that are going to take your life to the next level. Thanks for spending time with us. Sit back and enjoy the show.
I love what you're talking about leadership. I work with women leaders and entrepreneurs, and here's my latest and greatest. All leadership training and all professional development really is personal growth at the core.
1,000%.
And that's where we need to be. And that's the paradigm shift that we're in. And it's just like full stop, because in the old world, it was as if we were raised in silos of ourself. I'm a leader here, right? Then I'm a parent here. And then it's like, no. You're the common denominator of all the things. So let's work on you and magic.
Do you have a moment that you remember when you decided to quit? What was the trigger event or the tipping point for you?
Yeah, I do. It was a feeling in my body more than an external event. And that's another part of what we get to do now in this gorgeous new paradigm of leadership. It was this, here I am, I'm a VP of HR, and I'm supposed to be happy now, right? I did all the things. I followed the order of operations. I'm making the money. I have the team. They like me. I like them. I work from home. All is well. Why do I feel like my soul is dying? And that was really that call to figure out, this can't be it. Yeah. It's time to figure out what you are called to do on a deeper, wider, more world impact level.
How long ago was this?
7 years ago, because I went to coaching school for a year and then I launched the business 5 years ago.
I think you'll appreciate this. I think the exercise of HR, why it can be pure around people, culture, development, personal development, and just a little bit of a backstory, by the way. So the original name of our company was called the Personal Development Institute. And this was in the late 80s.
Okay.
And no one wanted personal development. No, that's the warm fuzzy stuff.
Yes.
And into the early 90s as well. And we changed the name to Witz and Associates, because that's what consultant groups did, and that's what sort of big professional firms were. But and we had to convince people back in the day. We had to sell the concept of no, this is leadership, but we're going to teach leadership through in the word in front of. And for a long time, it was a big battle. Today, it's a completely different story, right? So that's the evolution. So when you're in HR and going through coaching, back to sort of the point is, while it can be pure and true, the business doesn't always actually allow for that, right? So it becomes this how do we describe it? Noble effort to hold people up. Yet the business is going to always push and drive things like task, results, execution, all that square stuff.
Yes, well, that's the beauty of what we get to do now and the awakening that everyone's in, right? It's like, hello, clearly the past couple of years has been very intentional in what it has done to us and has called us to recognize, right? And it is no longer as hard as it was, right? I mean, like you said, you would sell to me as a VP of HR. One of the things that made me so bewildered and annoyed was when I would watch the presidents of my company try to solve people issues with, well, let's just get them better tech. And let's throw one quickie, company team day. And let's do all these external things. I'm like, no. Let's work on them. Let's give them the understanding of the depth and the breadth of their personal power so that they can show up and shift themselves, then their lived experiences, which then is a direct line into the productivity, the loyalty, the lowered attrition of every organization. It's getting much, 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 much better. And I think we actually have what's happening in the world at large to thank for that awakening. Empathy, compassion, energy, the influence of energy on one leader to another. How if in an ocean, if your boat is super rocky, you do not get to turn around and look at your team and be like, why are they so rocky? Hello, you're in the same ocean. How are you showing up? What kind of energy are you emitting? What kind of personal responsibility are you taking? So, yeah, I could talk about this for days.
Keep talking about it because I'm totally on board. You know, when early in the pandemic, I said to a lot of the people we work with, I said, you know, all the leadership courses you've done and the books that you've read and the personal development and the retreats, it's game time. So what you now do with this and that knowledge, and you know, let me ask you this question. So I think there has been an awakening and stuff. Do you think people are equipped now when it comes down to leadership to be able to manage these rocky waters? I think we're still in some rocky waters. Think there's
The
enough of us out there?
Oh, two questions. Let me answer the second one first.
Okay.
Absolutely not. A lot of people, and clients, before I shift their paradigm from lack into the truth of the abundance of the world, come in like, but the industry is so busy. Yeah, no. Have you noticed that the masses are still sleeping? Do you see how many organizations still need support and help? We need more and more and more well-intended, well-trained, intuitive, strong service providers to break through and come out. So no, we don't have nearly enough.
Okay.
And now I forgot the first question. Oh, the equipness.
Yeah.
The readiness is there. And that's where we come in as service providers. Because no, if they were equipped naturally, then they would be able to self-solve. I think the other part is to what you said before, giving them the how, right? Being able to come in, assess, take a look at, quote, what symptoms are presenting, right? What kind of disconnections in the teams, lack of revenue, turnover, things like that, and not come at it from an old school perspective of treating the symptom, but spending the time to find out what lies beneath and then equipping those leaders with practical ways to be different.
Is it only the leaders, or is this general? Like, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on the leader. I mean, what does it take for our team members to rise to this occasion and level up and build that resilience and not?
If I could jump through the screen and hold your face right now and hug you, I would. Here is the answer to that, and this is a big one. Everyone's a leader, and one of the biggest opportunities we have is ensuring that that's how people see themselves at the core. The old school leadership is defined by title, hierarchy, authority, and paycheck is outdated, outmoded, and very unhealthy. What's real is every single leader, regardless of quote role, is a self-leader. And when we approach everything through that lens, now all of a sudden everyone's standing a little bit taller and their shoulders are back and they're like, whoa, like I am significant and how I show up matters. So that's the first thing. And then naturally to ensure that let's say the bosses, those that lead others technically in their role, it is, I believe, even more critical that they are embodying all the different work that's available, that you deliver, that I deliver, that other beautiful people deliver, because it's modeling, right? So it's like being a parent. Somebody comes to me and go, how can my child, be more confident and have less anxiety? And I'm like, well, don't ask me about your child if you're not working on yourself. Right?
Right. I'm so glad you said modeling, because I'm thinking I was going to say, like, this is role modeling. I think where people miss the idea of leadership, which is the actions, the steps, the behaviors, the attitudes, the mindset that I show up with in these situations, is leadership. And the greatest way to teach as a parent, which I'm sure you'll appreciate, which goes into leadership, which goes into spousing, which goes into friendship, is modeling the behavior you want to see. Because most of us will mimic stuff. Most of us will try to replicate, mimic, do what we would define as successful. Wow, I watched Tracy in that meeting, and I watched how she handled the stress, and I watched how she navigated these waters. How did you do that? Well, this is the way I think, this is what I do. But it's me mimicking more than anything else, right? So
1,000%. And from a neuroscience, like a brain science standpoint, mirror neurons. That's what that is, right? We tend to mirror what comes at us. And the other really important biological thing to talk about that is very under discussed in leadership is how regulated are you as a leader? if your nervous system isn't regulated, if you're not doing things to consistently regulate your nervous system, you can have the best of intentions. You could do great thought work. But if you're coming in and your energy's jacked up, right, and like spicy or prickly or whatever, and you think you're faking the funk, but you're not, because you can't, because energy doesn't lie, and neither does your nervous system, right? That's where we get to really start in leadership, is when you come in regulated, there is like this natural, you don't have to speak, soothing that goes on, which really becomes like your command center and your power center. And that's exciting to me.
Right. The calmness. So I got two questions. Question number one, are there different types of energies? Have we defined it like this is like, there's quadrants of energy? And then number two, what are some things we can do to regulate?
Yes. So yeah, there's a few different ways to look at energy. Let's come at it from emotional states of being, because I believe that's the most digestible way. There's catabolic energy and anabolic energy. There are frequencies and resonances. But when we're hanging out and your beautiful audience is listening, there are disempowering emotional states that drive lower energy. And then there are higher empowering emotional states that drive higher energy. So for example, stress, overwhelm, pressure, frustration, powerlessness, those are emotional states that are going to shrink and lower your energy, right? Confidence, love, trust, vibrancy, those are higher level emotional states that are going to drive a higher energetic resonance. And it's like this because I know everyone has been in a situation like this. You're in a meeting, you're in a conference, and you're doing your thing, and someone walks in the room, and you're literally like, who just sucked the air out of it? What just happened? And you can feel the palpable energetic influence of the person who entered. Mm-hmm. Versus someone walks in the room and you're like, I don't know. I need to know that person. Like, who are they? And why am I all happy right now?
Right.
So yes, that's important. And, how do we start to play with that energy is to start to become aware of how many hours of the day you spend in disempowering emotional states versus empowering emotional states.
I agree with this. A lot of what you're talking about is we could learn how to manage, right? We could learn how to live in that higher frequency. So, that second question was regulating, right? Which I think.
Oh yes, thank you for
so a lot of work we do around emotional intelligence is, I always get this, which is, we teach something called the pause, right? Or stop concept. And simply put, it's being able to recognize the state of personality that you're in and pausing that instinctive response. And we talk about there's a space, there's a time between, their reaction and your response, or their reaction and your reaction, right? So if you could just hold that space a little bit, we're going to give ourselves an ability to access a little more intelligence, thought, decision, assessing, evaluating, right? Mm-hmm. And most of us feel, not most of us, we feel, all of us feel. And people think about, the regulating as not feeling. And I always want to remind people it's about the flow of the state and the feeling, and it's regulating, it's managing, it's controlling the temperature, right? It's taking your foot off the gas, it's accelerating a little more. Mm-hmm. And I get this question a lot, but I really want to ask you, which is, what are some best practices we can think of when it comes down to regulating emotion or regulating that energy?
Yes, absolutely. So regulating, when I say regulating, I am talking about actually regulating your nervous system, which is the operator of all things, right? So the first thing that is magical is actually breathing on purpose, right? And I love this because I love observing clients so easily dismiss it. Right. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the smile on my face, it's like, I'm breathing already. What do I need to do this for? I'm like, no. The jacked up, superhuman, need to be perfect, robotic version of you that probably has been holding your breath for the last 23 minutes is perpetuating the outcomes in your entire department. So what breathing on purpose means is changing the depth, the rate, and the pattern with which you breathe. And there's so many of them. The one I would love to gift is actually alternate nostril breathing. Right. So when you're alternate nostril, you could Google this. It's widely known, and you're plugging each nostril. So you're breathing in out of one and you're exhaling out of the other, back and forth like 5 times on each side. And what that does is it activates the vagus nerve, which is the main nerve of your nervous system, into a parasympathetic state, into like a chill, calm state, because that's when you can make conscious choice. To your point, that pause in between, right? You leave your boss's office and usually be spinning out because they made a comment about, hey, and come back and talk to me later. And all of a sudden you're in a rabbit hole in a story about how the later conversation is because you suck and you're about to be fired and blah, blah, blah. It's like, whoa. Let's not let your whole reactive past and programming take over. So breathing is magical. And I want to invite you to breathe on purpose throughout the day, right? Because what I have found as well, also with high potential leaders who are actively working on themselves. There's like great morning work, right? We all believe in how, your day matters, starts with your morning. And there's usually some bookend at the end of the evening where we reflect or gratitude or meditation. If you go back to sleep for the 15 hours of the day that you are actually interacting with the world and you're not interrupting yourself to regulate, you might as well not do the morning routine or the night routine, because that's the part of your day that's generating your experience, right? So breathing, pausing, turning around from your computer. If you can, leave the building, take a walk around it, put your feet in the grass. You could do tongue circles. You can literally like take your arms and smack your body a little bit and get back into your body. I would say those are my go-tos. Those are my go-tos.
Amazing. That's very powerful. People spend a lot of time, they'll focus on the morning and they'll focus on the end, the bookends. I love the way you describe that. But not enough time to what we do during, right? So I wanted to ask you, you do a lot of work with women leaders, right? Yes. And working with them. Do you see a difference? I know these are sometimes tricky questions, but do you see a different emotional energy from a disempowerment when it comes down to females versus males? Like are males one type of disempowerment energy or emotion and females other, or is it just kind of more general across the board?
A little bit of both, and yes, maybe. That's how I love to answer a question like that. And what I mean by that is there's no absolutes, right? Like we know that there's no absolutes. What I will tell you I see as common and more frequent is when a male is in a disempowering state, they will ego or masculine themselves, kind of like a puff your chest method, to overcompensate for the disempowering state they're feeling. Mm. And a woman will feel a disempowering state and she will shrink. Mm. So one becomes an overassertion to prove that you're enough, and one becomes a shrinking because you don't feel enough.
Right. Two very different types of ways of managing and regulating, huh?
Yes. It's and it's also because of the different, it's gender roles and our society and how we're influenced and, all those types of things. And that's important too, that we look at leadership through the lens of real personal growth, because when I say real personal growth, I define that as deep personal growth, long-term sustainable change, healing, growing, expanding. Thought work won't work sustainably and long-term if we're not also reworking the belief structure that's driving the thought process, right? So all of those yummy things is what it means to grow.
How hard is it for you to get some of the individuals that you work with to go there? I mean, we understand it and, heal from the past and the traumas. And I read your story and, if you look at all of our stories, it's got that same sort of, storyline, which is the ability to recognize it, to work on it, to heal it, and to shift that mindset, that behavior. It's a tough pill to swallow. Self-awareness is a responsibility and sometimes a little bit disheartening. So do you talk to me? Is it like the peanut butter on the pill that you got to convince people, hey, like
right, like the way I get my dog to take her pill, like peanut butter on a piece of salami with the pill rolled up inside? Right. Sometimes, and I feel as though it's two-parted. It becomes three-parted. It's an educational process. It's a safety process, and it's an evidence process. So it's educational in that, like the tagline of my book is because you're the problem and the solution, right? So it doesn't matter what happened to you up until this point, but as a grown-ass human, it is your responsibility to heal, grow, and expand through it if you want to experience different in your life. Full stop. Full stop. The second piece is the safety, because in the art of change, to understand it biologically is to recognize that our nervous system is constantly like unsafe, safe, unsafe, safe. So as coaches and leaders, it's imperative that we know how to hold safe space so that said human can move into the pain that they need to move into to heal through something. And the evidence piece is, once you have the educational piece and the safety in place, and then this beautiful human has just one little moment. That's my favorite part. So one little moment where they do the work, even if it's as simple as what you're saying, pause and notice, and then they're like, oh, look at that. Right. The evidence that we gain back becomes so like mind-blowing and eye-opening that now you can't deny your power and you'll keep doing it.
Right. Hey, so sorry to interrupt, and thank you for listening. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you like today's episode and you want to learn more about some of our programs, like the Better Leader program that can change your life, go ahead and click the link below. Actually, that brings up a question. So how many actually have that moment, right, and slip back?
Anyone who is willing will have that moment.
Right.
And ultimately, we can only work with the willing. And it doesn't make someone wrong to not be willing. Their conscious awareness might not be there yet. We are all going to grow and heal and expand either by catalyst or choice. What do you and I hope? By choice. Let's not wait for the universe to smack you over the head with a disease or a loss or something else. Like, come on, get with the program also. It's 2022. Like, you guys, if you're not investing in your own growth, what are you doing?
Right.
Right? So if you are willing, everyone will have that evidential moment. Everyone. And then how many people step back? Everyone. Until you hang out long enough to learn what resistance is. Until you understand that 24/7, 365, your mind, body, and nervous system is pulling against you, going, no, keep you the same, because that means you're safe, and changing or taking the promotion or leaving that marriage or opening yourself to love or making 8 figures in your company or whatever it is. If it's not already known to you, your nervous system literally thinks it's unsafe. Mm-hmm. Right? So naturally, resistance comes in. I teach it inside Mind Magic as there are 4 common types of resistance: blank brain, distraction, confusion, lack of motivation. There's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
It's just that, you started to move towards something different, and resistance is like, I can get them to stop. Watch this.
So talk to me about blank brain, distracted brain. So like we're feel that resistance, right? So yes. I'm thinking I have a friend / client, she might even listen to this, where she stayed at a job for literally, I think, 17 years. Also, by the way, in an HR position. And I've spoken to her year after year after year after year after year. Are you quitting? She's right. Anyway, finally did it, right? But it took forever. And I actually just recently caught up with her, and she was like, it's amazing. She was like, I don't want to jinx it, but right. So as you were talking about resistance and like, us wanting to pull away from that was the person I was thinking about. So talk to me about blank brain, distracted brain, and what were the others?
Lack of motivation, confusion, distraction, and blank brain. But first, to your beautiful friend who's totally listening to this right now, you cannot jinx it. You cannot jinx it. You are the shoe. The shoe doesn't drop, you guys, right? You cannot jinx it. You are exactly where you need to be. Keep trusting yourself. So underneath the resistance, the important thing to acknowledge, and I just related to her and that story you told, because it took me 2 years to make any move out of that corporate job, because I was so paralyzed by fear and I didn't understand it, which is why I teach it and speak to it now, because I left my corporate job and I was like, how could I be so jazzed and like excited? And then on Monday and then on Tuesday, do nothing. And then on Wednesday, be ready to leave. And then on Thursday, back away. And it's because of fear. And fear uses resistance as like a sneaky super sleuth to get you to not realize what your system's doing. So blank brain is literally like, I don't know. How many times have you asked a client like, I don't know. Like literally you've got nothing. You can't think of it. You've got no ideas. You've got no answers, just full on resistance says, well, let's just give them nothing.
Right.
Okay. Confusion is, I don't even think this is going to work for me. This feels so confusing. What did he say to do? Does this even matter? Should I do this or not? I just feel so confused. And we back away. Right. Distraction, especially when we work from home, which is super easy.
Right.
I need to walk the dog again. Did I just hear the laundry go off? I don't know. They say that if I meditate extra, I'll be more successful. Let me go sit and breathe a little bit longer. And before you know it, you've literally just done nothing but distracted yourself all day. And lack of motivation is that pervasive thing where like, I just don't feel like it. I'm just not motivated anymore. None of those things are real, though. That is because your fear response was activated and fear called in resistance. And these are the more common types. There are many other. Perfectionism is a form of it.
Right.
Procrastination is a form of it. And once you become aware of how your system, mine was a big blank brain. Oh, you want to write a book? No. I don't know. You want to do a TED Talk? I don't know. So when you become aware of what your special flavor of resistance is, now you can lovingly call yourself out and be like, oh, no, not today, resistance. And move through it, through loving it, giving your body safety, and then doing the thing.
It's amazing. Motivation.
Yes.
I get this question a lot. How can I motivate my team to X? Or, I'm not feeling motivated. So is there such a thing as extrinsic motivation, which is we could truly motivate someone through an outside factor, or is motivation truly intrinsic? It will always come from within.
I think it's both. And truly just like just responding to your question and what's coming through. I think it's both, because I think it has to start externally to develop internally in a lot of instances. So if you were talking to someone about weight loss or a promotion, and it meant that I can finally like imagine yourself, right? Because we need to use our imagination and the power of visualization. I can finally imagine myself like running and chasing my kids without having to break and breathe, right? Or getting that promotion and what it comes along with. I now have the financial freedom. I can see myself like helping my parents pay back their house. So it's beautiful to use the external as something that you can pull through and kind of rehearse in your mind, because it will invoke an emotion in your body that allows you to then be pulled into doing said thing, right? Or being motivated. And then intrinsically, once you're connected with that emotion, the depth of, why are you doing, like Simon Sinek, right? Why are you doing this? Why does this matter? That's an internal thing, alongside aligning your thoughts to assist in that feeling so you can do said thing.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Now you talk about reframing, that negative thinking, which is it's in some cases that is the most difficult thing for us to work against, which is our own mind, and sometimes that negative thinking. What is the line between anxiety and excitement? Where does this sit in our energy spectrum?
So energy cannot be destroyed. It is transmuted. So you can shift anxiety into excitement, right? And ultimately it becomes whatever you say it is. So when you're having anxiety and it's negative and you're affirming the anxiety and you're worrying about the panic attack, that is a lower level vibration. When you allow yourself to transmute the anxiety into excitement, right? I'm so excited. This is so exciting. It brings to mind the first time I was ever interviewed on the news. I did a teen empowerment camp in the beginning of my career, and I was interviewed on CBS about it. And I was sitting waiting. It was the first time I got mic'd, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, and I wouldn't even tell you I'm anxious ever, right? But I was sitting there and I was in high anxiety, and I was like, right? What am I doing? Oh my God, what if I suck? What if I say the wrong thing? They didn't give me any questions. They didn't prep me. They just said, sit here, we'll call you for your segment. And in that moment, I recognized the anxiety and how it was pulling me down and away from being available for everything I wanted to call on. And I did the breathing that I talked about, right? Because we have to calm first. And then I kind of retrained into, I'm so excited. Look at where you are. Look at what you get to do. This is so exciting. Someone's going to hear you. A little girl's life's going to change. Yay. And shifted into training it into excitement.
Yeah. We do this as presenters, right? Simply we used to call it an anxiety factor versus panic factor, which is you get on stage and you start to go, oh my gosh, whoa, what happened? And, I was talking to a client the other day and he said, Greg, I completely, crapped the bed. I was like, why? He was like, I was called in for a presentation and it was the CEO and some of the other executives. And, as I opened up and I had it all prepared and I had my PowerPoint and I had this and I was rehearsed and I was ready to go. And as it began, he said, do me a favor. We don't need to know why we're all here. We all know why we're here. Can you just get on with the presentation? And he went completely blank brain, right?
Yeah.
And started to focus. And he, in reflection, he was like, I could see this like an out of the body experience, which is the difference between where my focus went versus through that anxiety and that panic versus sort of what I was there to do. So
Yeah, I love that. And I'd love to speak to something because I think this is a little bit of an inner practice that will be really helpful. And you mentioned at the beginning too, like the first time you ever had a big interview, right? With someone that you perceived as big or successful. That's what happens when we go into those meetings, right? We have all the C-suite there. We have the board there, as if they're like the Messiah. They're not, right? And it's one thing to say, like everyone puts their pants on one leg at a time. And those things are lovely. But here's what I have found more helpful. Allow yourself a moment to think about the stages that person moved through to become who they are. And every moment that your CEO was also highly anxious in making a presentation, right? Or when they struggled, or when the choice to become the CEO had a riff in something else going on for them. Humanize them, please. Right? Like really take a look at that, because it allows you to go, oh, they've actually been where I've been. And it's all good.
Right.
Yeah.
The CEO is also an asshole. Right? Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, the question we always like to come to in the show, right? Which is a big question, and there's never one answer for it. But really, what we want the audience to be able to hear and listen and gain some tips and experience. So, if we were to ask, what do we all need to do to be a better human tomorrow? What comes to mind?
Open your heart and listen to your body. Stop thinking. It's just so ironic because I'm technically a mindset coach. We think too much. We think too much. Your body is your power, and your body's connected to your heart. And when you unarmor the heart, and I get it, mine was armored for a long time, and I'm still working that out, right? You instantly become a better human because you become more willing to connect and be connected with. And that at the core is what our humanity is about.
It's amazing. I'll paraphrase that, which is sometimes we've got to be careful of our shield, and sometimes we're thinking about the shield too much. Right.
Amen.
Tracy, you are amazing. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours and hours. Talk to us a little bit about your book. Where can the audience find it? And of course, if they wanted to get in touch with you, how can we get in touch with you?
Yes. So you can get in touch with me at thelitfactor.com. That's the best place. And it's lit with 2 T's, Litt. And I always thank my dad because thanks, Dad. What a phenomenal last name to have in the personal growth industry. So you can go to thelitfactor.com and you can access the book from there. You can also go straight to Amazon. The book is called Worthy Human, because you are the problem and the solution. You will love it. The audiobook I recorded myself, so I highly recommend. What I'm being told is when you get the paperback and the audio and you kind of pair them up, it's pretty magical because it's my voice and my intonation. And the book is structured, they're not chapters, they're choices. Because one of the things I would love to continue to bring forth is everything's a choice. Please don't kid yourself. Okay. And there's theory and story in the book, and there's also work sections. So you'll see like grayed out boxes where I'm asking you to stop and like do the work so that you can experience a transformation simply by the book alone.
Amazing. What an effective tool. I love the fact that you said audiobook and book. It's become quite popular. I can't believe how many people is crossing my desk where they're like, yeah, what I like to do is have the paperback and listen to the audiobook, and I digest it and retain it more. So very cool. I'm definitely going to get my copy. And yes, thank you to your father, because what a brilliant branding name, right? Awesome. Tracy, thank you so much. Any parting words for the audience?
Well, thank you so much. I have thoroughly enjoyed this, and I could talk to you all day as well. And my parting words are: you are whole, you are enough, and you are worthy right now because it's your birthright. It's inherent in who you are. You don't have to do anything to earn it. And even if you don't believe me yet, you eventually will. And everything you want wants you, so make yourself available for it.
Amazing. And to the audience, you could round of applause for Tracy. That was fantastic. Tracy, thank you so much. If you like today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, don't forget to share, and definitely go check out the Lit Factor and get in touch with Tracy.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for listening today. And if you enjoyed today's episode, you're going to love the next one.